From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello, I'm Nikesh Ragani and welcome to Stumped. I'm joined by Jim Maxwell for the ABC in Sydney and Sunil Gupta is in Delhi for Akashvani. Another star is born in the IPL after 24-year-old debutant Praful Hinge struck 3 times in his very first over as his side Sunrisers Hyderabad beat Rajasthan Royals. The seamer's haul included dismissing Vaibhav Suryavanshi for a first ball duck. It's also the first time in the league's 18-year history that a bowler has taken 3 wickets in the opening over of an IPL match. Sunil, we often talk about breakout stars in the IPL. I mean, what a debut that was for Hinge in the IPL. Tell us more about him.
He started playing rather late, at the age of 13, and initially didn't play with a leather ball. He played with a tennis ball. But then he told his father to enroll him in a club in Nagpur. That's where he came from. So it's a big city and a very supportive family. And he plays for Vidarbha. That's where Umesh Yadav comes from, the speedster. Since 2024 in red and white ball cricket, he's been part of the India A team and the under-19 teams. Hasn't really made a mark. And of course, he's playing in the Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy, India's domestic T20 tournament. And he recorded some of the best bowling figures of the season. But, as so often happens with India's speedsters, especially when they're young, a lower back injury threatened to cut short his career, which prompted a visit to the MRF Foundation, the Pace Foundation in Chennai, which, as you know, Glenn McGrath is the director of the Pace Academy over there. And over there, it was the chief coach, M. Senthilanathan. He said that his progress began by addressing both his fitness and the technical flaw that caused that back injury. So he worked under Glenn McGrath for quite some time. And the overall report that McGrath gave was that he was a fine prospect, these are his words, which was evident in the way that he swings the new ball at pace while holding a tight line and length. And I wonder who else did that in his career. Besides Glenn McGrath, it was him. But what was heartwarming about Praful Hinge, not just taking those wickets and winning the Player of the Match, was that he, while accepting that Player of the Match award, he took care to mention the physio at the MRF Pace Foundation. His name was Naveen Babu, who looked after him for 6 months. And I thought that that was really lovely of him to actually mention that. He could have mentioned everybody else, which he did, but he actually never forgot him.
Sunil, he's also evidently a very confident young man. He spoke about the fact that he'd written down somewhere that when he eventually makes his IPL debut, he's going to take 4 or 5 wickets in his opening match. Obviously took 3 in the first over, took 4 in the innings. So I guess, you know, these things can come true if you manifest them in the right way. But it's good to see that confidence from the young man. I mean, the IPL has a habit of plucking out these stars from nowhere, doesn't it? I mean, Vaibhav Suryavanshi, who we've spoken about numerous times. One of my favourites was probably at the other end of the scale, an older player that came through, Pravin Dambe, in the earlier days of the IPL, sort of made his debut into his late 30s, played into his mid-40s, and had so much success after just playing club cricket for most of his life. I mean, this is clearly another case of amazing scouting networks across India, isn't it?
Yeah, it's also the fact that the IPL gives these youngsters an opportunity, which wasn't there earlier. It gives them opportunity, it gives them money, which for many of them is very, very important. We've heard of people like Rinku Singh, who also made a splash, if you remember, a couple of years ago. And he also came from very straitened circumstances. So yes, absolutely. I mean, the IPL throws up these figures, but they take their chances. I think that is the critical thing. In fact, Praful Hinge was supposed to play an earlier game, I think, against Punjab. And then he was left out, and so I think Jaydev Unadkat played in his place. And then finally he came into this particular game, and he made it count. And I think that is really what shows a person's temperament, especially a youngster who's making his debut, and against such a big side. So I think that is the important thing, that having made this impact and having talked so much about what he wrote and how he's able to fulfill it, that he continues on that path, doesn't let it go to his head. I think that's absolutely right. There are others also, Nikesh, if you want to talk about those. Just over the years, you talked about Pravin Tambe. That was a fairy tale, wasn't it? I mean, the leg spinner who came in the late 30s and made a mark, actually. But in the same game, And we haven't talked enough about him. The same game where he took 4 for 34, there was another debutant by the name of Saqib Hussain, who came from Bihar, where Suryavanshi comes from. But his father was a daily laborer, and he picked up 4 for 24. And the other one, and this is what I want to talk about, is Umran Malik. Now, you must have heard about him. He was this pace bowling sensation, bowling at 150, 155 from J&K. And he came in his first season or second season. He took 22 wickets in 14 games and then fell away. Fell away because he didn't have variety, he didn't have variations. And of course, then he got that back injury. And now he's playing at 75K for KKR. He was bought at that point of time for $500,000. So you can go up, you can go down on the ladder. The fact is, yes, it keeps throwing up new stars. It's a question of how they make their mark on an ongoing basis. I think that's the important thing.
Absolutely, and it's about grabbing that opportunity. And one man that certainly has grabbed the opportunity, one of the wickets that Hinge took there, as we mentioned, Vaibhav Suryavanshi, only 15 years old, Jim. I mean, you know, he's been talked about all around the world. I'm sure in Australia, there's a lot of hype about this young man who's pulling up trees, not only in the IPL, but also in the Under-19 World Cup for India in that victorious campaign. I mean, judging by what he's done there, Jim, and by what he's doing in the IPL against top bowlers like Jasprit Bumrah, do you think he's ready for a full international debut now, or do you think we should just manage those expectations? I mean, he's only 15 years old. Let's reiterate that.
Well, he's obviously got some ability now. Whether he can maintain a continuity of performance and be resilient enough, it'll be a big question. And Sunil might like to tell us about his records so far in the Ranji Trophy, because I gather it's nowhere near as flattering as it is in T20 cricket. So it's a bit of the Campbellitis at the moment with young people. You've got to wait and see if they can sustain it, that it's not just meteoric. But certainly he's come in with a bang, big bang. Can he continue to do that? Sunil, I don't think his record's very distinguished so far, is it, in other red ball forms of the game?
No, they aren't, because I've noticed them when they come up in the newspapers. But you're absolutely right. And actually, that reflects upon India's red ball performance over the past year and a half, where at home, India has lost to New Zealand 3-0, to South Africa 2-0. New Zealand has never beaten us in India before. And now 3-0. I mean, it was complete. It was ridiculous on spinning tracks. Similarly for South Africa, right? Then we drew in England and, of course, lost heavily in Australia. So I think what is happening, and that's my personal opinion, is that all this emphasis that is being put on white ball cricket, right? You're winning the T20 World Cups and all that sort of thing. That's great. But the red ball game is sadly, I think, out of focus somewhere along the line. And we're not going to be anywhere near the World Test Championship final. Nowhere near that, right? And we were there twice in a row many years ago, before the last time when Australia played South Africa. So I think that is where the problem lies. Now, as you say, yeah, he can come and bang the ball around for 10 overs, 20 overs, maybe even 30 overs. But can he do it on a sustained, consistent basis in the red ball game, when the pitch is changing, when the ball is turning, when their fielders close to the bat? Well, that jury is still out.
Well, let's move on to talk about two players with a bit more experience than those who we've mentioned so far. Jasprit Bumrah and Cameron Green, who haven't had the best of starts to the tournament so far. We'll start off with Bumrah, who went wicketless in his first 4 IPL matches this season, which is a rare feat from a bowler of such quality, especially in this format, which he performs so well in across his whole career, really. Sunil, is that lack of wickets from your main strike bowler for the Mumbai Indians, is that a massive concern?
Oh, I think it really is. It really is, because actually it's 5 on the bounce. The last game of the last IPL, he didn't take any wickets, so it's actually 5. But the point is what is happening to Mumbai Indians, right? What is happening to Mumbai Indians? What's happening to KKR? Both those teams, who are iconic teams, are languishing at the bottom. And of course, CSK, I mean, who can forget CSK also at the bottom? And I think somewhere along the line, there comes a time when you pass that mark of saying, hey, listen, I can do this again and again and again, or I want to do this again and again and again. Now, who knows inside a person's heart as to what he's feeling. And also, there are some problems, at least the way that one sees it from outside, within the MI team. The problem of captaincy, for instance, between Pandya and Yadav, that's there. Rohit Sharma, who's there in and out, and he's out now because he's got an injury. So I think there are issues to do with team stability, team construction, and who's really leading from the front.
So there's nothing technical or anything like that you might think might be the issue behind Bumrah's struggles so far this season, or is it just maybe a case of too much cricket, workload management, those types of things?
Yeah, I don't think it's workload management. I don't think he's really played so much cricket, certainly not the T20 type. But somewhere, as I said, along the line, you reach a sort of plateau. And I think that plateau is what he has actually got. That plateau he's been shoved up that plateau by what's happening within the team. You don't want to be a part of a team that's losing all the time. I don't think it's a technical issue from what I've made out, because the overs come one over and then there's a pause and then there's another over. But it's very difficult to make out also with the state of the game as to what he has to do under those circumstances. But if you go back to Suryavanshi, we talk about him, tonking him for 2 sixes in the over, including the first ball that he faced against him. That was talked about. That really was talked about. I think that really made him wake up and say, hello, what's going on? I think that also affected him slightly.
Yeah, you would think so, especially when a 15-year-old is doing that to you. Jim, Indian spinner Ravichandran Ashwin has said that Bumrah's ability to nail tight Yorkers and restrict the flow of runs is more important than his wicket-taking ability, or lack of wickets isn't so much of an issue as long as he's still doing that and restricting those runs. What do you make of that?
You don't have to be far off the mark to lose a little bit of confidence, I suppose, and maybe that's part of it. I haven't seen him bowling, but yeah, he's a rhythm bowler. He's got a lot of pace, but if he's not quite there, he's going to go around the park. All bowlers feel this at times when they don't get their length right and batsmen tee off against them, and particularly in this form of the game, you can have a bad run. But he's been such a colossal, quick strike bowler, it's hard to believe that he's lost it all of a sudden. But this does happen. We've seen it before. So hopefully he can restore himself and be the accurate, economical strike bowler that we've got used to. But maybe it's just a blip. We'll see.
Sunil, there's been a lot made about the types of surfaces and the type of tournament the IPL is. Would you say it's more of a spinner's tournament and fast bowlers are basically just there to throw the ball down? Is there any kind of assistance for them, or is it just a spinner's tournament in your view now?
No. I don't think that one could classify it either way. They're all picking up wickets. You have Prasidh Krishna picking up wickets. We just talked about Hingia and Hussain. We've got Anshul Kamboj from the CSK, who's also picked up 10 wickets, and they're all pacers. And it's Ravi Bishroi from the Royals, who's the leading spinner with 9 wickets. And frankly, if you look at pace bowlers, many of them get their wickets from slower deliveries, which are bowled at about 100, 105 Ks. So, it is, yes. Obviously, the pitches, depending on the time of day, depending where you are, etc., whether you're in Chennai or whether you're up north, where they will have a role to play. But I don't think that one can classify it either way. I personally feel, that's my personal feeling, that the spinners have actually fallen out of favour.
Jim, let's bring Cameron Green into the conversation. It's fair to say, by his standards, not having a great tournament. Is this a big worry of Australians aware of this? You've talked previously about the time zones not being great with the IPL and the match timings. Is there much concern about his form in Australia?
I think there will be if his run of outs, his lack of form with the bat, and the fact that he's struggling to bowl. He's only had one spell, I think, in one game. So maybe that factor is having an effect on his confidence. I'm not sure what makes it all add up to his very ordinary performance. Pressure of expectation, of course, must be there. He's being paid so much money. But it will be a concern as Australia eventually, in a few months' time, moves back to playing Test cricket against Bangladesh in August at home, he's going to be under some pressure from Webster to keep his place, you would think. So, yes, he needs to get some runs. Probably needs to bowl a bit more if his body can stand it. But, there is a question there at the moment about whether or not he's going to regain his composure, his confidence to be the dominant player everyone would like him to be, particularly those people in India who have paid a vast amount of money to have him on board.
And we will talk about that money, actually. Do you think the pressure of that price tag of being the most expensive overseas signing in IPL history is affecting him?
I think that will be part of it, yes. When you are not performing anywhere near your average, not just your best, you do start to have a bit of mental confusion as to where you're going. So, I'm sure he's puzzled by it. We saw that just before he left when he had a blow up with the press when he was asked a question about his batting, his poor form in the Test series, and he didn't have the usual composure and control that we've seen. So, I'm sure he's a bit of the muddle-headed wombat at the moment in terms of how he's going to get out of this, and that will be a concern to him because he's got a lot to play for in the short term and in the longer term. And who knows where his cricket's going to be if he doesn't all of a sudden find some form fairly soon.
Well, that's it for Stumped this week. Join us again next time. My thanks to Jim Maxwell and Sunil Gupta. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. Until next time, it's bye for now.